President Biden just signed a $1.7 trillion government spending bill on December 29th, which includes the $53 billion retirement bill that will have a lot of changes starting in 2023, 24, and 25. A few weeks ago, I did a video on the new 401k perks and rule changes. This video is to focus on the withdrawal rule changes for tax penalties for your IRA and 401k. Generally speaking, if you touch your retirement before you turn 59 and a half, there will be a 10% tax penalty. And there are already exceptions to the 401k or IRA 10% penalty rule if you experience a significant life event. But there are 4 new rules that I want to make sure that you're aware of. However, unless it is a matter of life and death, I would never recommend or encourage you to make an early withdrawal from your retirement accounts. Taking money out of your retirement accounts should be your very last resort. My wife and I have a fully funded emergency fund that will cover at least 6 months of expenses if one of us loses a job, becomes physically incapacitated, or has any significant life event. And we will always deplete our cash and investment accounts before we touch our retirement accounts, because every dollar I withdraw now will have severe consequences and possibly even delay my retirement. But I want to make sure you guys are aware of the rule changes so you can educate yourselves about your retirement accounts. But anyway, I'm going to put chapters in this video so you can feel free to jump into the video that applies to your financial situation. And if you need help with your personal finances, like creating a budget or savings plan to achieve your financial independence, you can schedule a free one-on-one 20-minute financial coaching session by visiting firesightchat.com/coaching. The first provision that got added under Secure Act 2.0 was a terminal illness. And it surprises me that it took Congress this long to waive the 10% penalty for people with terminal illnesses. The law defines terminally ill as an illness or physical condition that can be expected to result in death within 84 months of a doctor's assessment, which will be substituted for 24 months. So if you haven't reached the regular retirement age of 59 and a half and you're diagnosed with a terminal illness with a qualified physician, then the IRS will forgive the 10% penalty, but you'll still owe federal and state income taxes. This is on page 2280 of the 4100-page Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. The next provision they added was to allow domestic abuse victims from a spouse or domestic partner to withdraw up to $10,000 in retirement funds within a year of the incident. This rule will take effect in 2024, and I'm not sure why we can't start this now, but this is on page 2253 of the spending bill in section 314. It's up to $10,000 or 50% of the present value of the non-forfeitable accrued benefit of the employee under the plan. And the 1-year period begins on any date on which the individual is a victim of domestic abuse by a spouse or domestic partner. The definition of domestic abuse is on page 2254 under subparagraph 2. Now, I've seen comments in a past video about how stay-at-home spouses or parents can't have any retirement funds. As a stay-at-home parent or spouse, you can actually set up what's called a spousal Roth IRA if you and your spouse are filing your taxes jointly. I did a video on that, and I encourage you to share that video with people you know. And look, if you're a victim of domestic violence or abuse, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. People who physically abuse their spouses or partners are some of the biggest pieces of crap, or just scums. And I witnessed domestic abuse as a child growing up, and no one ever deserves to be abused. And you should never be responsible for your partner or spouse's abusive actions. Let me move on to the next topic before I get all spun up. The next 2 provisions are pretty much the same, but starting in 2024, you won't get penalized for withdrawing retirement funds for certain emergency expenses. And these emergency expenses must be considered unforeseeable or immediate costs related to personal or family emergencies. You can withdraw up to $1,000 a year, and I mentioned that in the 401k video, but you're going to be waived the 10% penalty as well. You still have to repay the initial distribution of $1,000 within 3 years unless you make regular contributions to your 401k that eventually reach your withdrawal amount. And the other one is allowing Americans to withdraw up to $22,000 without the 10% penalty in the case of a federally declared disaster. So hopefully you don't have to go through this, but if you ever experience a loss of home due to a tornado, hurricane, or earthquake and need more than what you have in your emergency fund, the $22,000 is taxed as gross income over the next 3 years instead of 1 year. So instead of being taxed $22,000, you could be taxed for just $77,300 every year for the next 3 years. Starting on page 2285 of the spending bill, it tells you that it needs to be a federally declared disaster. So if you had a flood like I did last year from a broken toilet bowl, you're not going to be qualified for the special distribution. So we came home from a 4-day vacation to a flooded home because our toilet bowl cracked right down the middle, and I will show you the video right here. And it took us about 4 months to completely replace the flooring, drywalls, and painting. And this is why I strongly encourage you to get my financial independence resources, including spreadsheets for savings and investments, for absolutely free by visiting firesidechat.com/contact. You can also check out the Fireside Chat shop if you're looking to start your own YouTube channel, and I have all of my books and equipment at firesidechat.com/shopping. And here are the existing exceptions to the 10% penalty for those under the age of 59.5. The first one is using your IRA for higher education expenses. The IRS will actually waive your 10% penalty if you use your IRA funds to pay qualifying higher education costs for you, your spouse, your children, or even your grandchildren. The eligible cost will include tuition fees, books, and other school or education related expenses. And keep in mind that this is for students in a college, university, or vocational school. In my opinion, you should not use your IRA to fund you or your children's education. We have the 529 college savings plan to do exactly that. You should treat your IRA as your retirement account, right? Just remember that your children's college will last 4 years, but your retirement is forever. The next one is the first-time homebuyer exemption with your IRA. And the definition of a first-time homebuyer is actually someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 2 tax years. You can withdraw up to a lifetime maximum of $10,000 without the 10% penalty from your IRA. And according to the IRS, you have to use $10,000 within 120 days of the distribution. You can use the money for yourself, your spouse, or your child. If you and your spouse are both first-time homebuyers, you can each withdraw up to $10,000 from your IRAs without penalties. My advice is not to use your IRA to buy a home because once again, you could significantly delay your retirement if you withdraw that $10,000 now. The better question is, how long will it take for you to save $10,000 in a high yield savings account? The next existing provision is to use your IRA to pay for your health insurance premiums if you lose your job. And you have to provide proof of unemployment compensation from the federal or state unemployment program for 12 consecutive weeks. You also have to make the IRA withdrawal without the 10% penalty within the same year or the following year that you received unemployment compensation. And the other waiver is a distribution to cover your medical expenses. We all know how broken the US healthcare system is, but you can withdraw up to 7.5% of your annual adjusted gross income to pay for your unreimbursed medical expenses. So for example, if your adjusted gross income was $100,000 in 2022, then you can make a withdrawal of up to $7,500 to cover your unreimbursed medical expenses. If you got your medical statement in 2022 and you didn't make the payment until 2023, it will still count for the 2022 tax year. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. The IRA withdrawal will also have to happen in the same year in 2022 to get the penalty waiver. And if you just had a baby or adopted a child, each parent can actually use up to $5,000 per birth or adoption from their retirement accounts. The withdrawal just has to be the same year your child was born or the date you legally adopted your child. And the other provision that's been around for a while is waiving a 10% penalty for reservists who got orders or called into active duty for at least 180 days. If you need to make a withdrawal for some reason, you have to provide proof of your military orders and make sure the withdrawal date happens on or after the first date of your orders. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're a veteran. I'm an Air Force veteran myself, and I've helped many veterans get out of debt, budget, and save for their future. If you ever have any questions, you can always hit me up on Instagram and just say hi on Instagram, or go to firesidechat.com/contact to schedule a one-time private coaching session for completely free. But if you want to just stay on YouTube and you want to watch more videos about the new 401k rules and how I'm saving to retire early by age 45, be sure to check out these 2 videos. So with that said, I appreciate you watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.